In the tranquil suburbs of Melbourne, Australia, the abrupt end of a young woman's bright future unveiled a harrowing story that would shock the entire community. This is the story of Celeste Manno, a narrative of ambition, kindness, and an unexpected, tragic conclusion. Celeste, a vibrant and compassionate young woman, was celebrated for her infectious smile and generous heart. With a life brimming with promise, she aspired to make a significant, positive impact on the world. Yet, unbeknownst to many, a hidden danger loomed in the background. Celeste Manno entered the world on November 22, 1996, in the vibrant city of Melbourne, Australia. Her parents, Tony Manno and Aggie D. Morrow, welcomed her with open arms, alongside her older brother, Alessandro. From a young age, Celeste found joy in dancing, and quickly became a cherished figure among her peers. Her bond with her mother, Aggie, was particularly strong. So much so that even as a 23-year-old, Celeste still found comfort in her mother's nightly tucks into bed. By June 2019, Celeste had established herself as a capable leader in a call center, diligently rising to the position of team leader. However, one fateful day at work, she found herself in the unexpected role of escorting a recently dismissed colleague out of the building, a task she hadn't foreseen. Celeste had no prior acquaintance with the dismissed colleague, yet she empathized with his situation. As they bid farewell, Celeste offered a gesture of goodwill, extending her hand for a handshake. However, before she could react, the man unexpectedly pulled her close and planted a kiss on her cheek. This encounter marked Celeste's first direct interaction with 35-year-old Luai Sako. The incident left Celeste feeling deeply embarrassed, prompting her to confide in her mother upon returning home that evening. Despite Celeste's discomfort, her mother dismissed the incident, attributing the man's actions to a harmless crush. Acknowledging her mother's wisdom, and convinced it was merely a passing infatuation, Celeste chose to move past the uncomfortable encounter. With her focus on her blossoming relationship with Chris Risdale, a co-worker from the call center, she relegated the incident with Luai to the past. Yet shortly after Luai's termination, he unexpectedly reached out to Celeste through Instagram. "I can't stop thinking about you," he wrote. "I can't get your eyes and gorgeous smile out of my head." Feeling unsettled, Celeste sought comfort in her mother's counsel once more. However, from that moment forward, Luai's obsession with Celeste escalated rapidly as he inundated her with increasingly intimate messages. "I've never felt this way about anyone in my entire life. I'm totally infatuated with you, captivated and fascinated by you. I'd give my life and the world to you, just to be with you." In a polite message, Celeste conveyed to Luai that she didn't share his feelings, and requested him to refrain from contacting her further, as his advances made her uncomfortable. However, it appeared that her rejection only served to intensify his pursuit. She wrote, "Stop contacting me as this is making me very uncomfortable. Please respect my wishes and stop." Despite Celeste's repeated requests for Luai to cease contacting her, his messages persisted incessantly. Over time, they took on a more aggressive and hostile tone. In one message he wrote, "I love you with all my heart, so forgive me when I say this, but you're lame." Despite Celeste's efforts to block Luai's accounts, he persisted by creating new profiles to continue harassing her. The relentless stalking took its toll, prompting Celeste to abandon pleading with him and instead opt to ignore his messages. However, this only seemed to exacerbate Luai's desperation. In a lengthy message, he expressed his anger, accusing Celeste of being no different from other women and vowing to prove his worth to the world. He declared an end to their communication, but regrettably, he failed to uphold this promise. Chris, Celeste's boyfriend, opened up about the anguish he felt witnessing the toll of the harassment on Celeste. She lived in constant fear, unable to eat or sleep as the relentless stalking persisted. Concerns escalated when Celeste's mother, Aggie, voiced worries about the possibility of the stalker discovering their home address. Celeste, however, brushed off her mother's concerns, believing that the harassment would cease once the stalker realized her lack of interest. Sadly, this optimism was short-lived, offering only a glimpse into the impending horror yet to unfold. After enduring 6 months of relentless harassment, Celeste and Aggie reached a breaking point. They made the difficult decision to visit their local police station to file a report. However, their hopes were dashed when the police informed them that Louis's actions did not constitute a crime, leaving them feeling helpless. The officer they spoke to advised Celeste to simply ignore him, prompting her to explain that she had already been doing so to no avail. In response, the officer said, "Well, that's just social media these days. If you don't like it, get off social media." The police's refusal to help left Celeste feeling increasingly powerless and exposed. Not only did they decline to take Louis's name, but they also did not assist whatsoever. Over the next 6 months, the situation deteriorated significantly. Louis Sacco escalated his harassment by appearing outside Celeste's workplace, followed by stalking her and even discovering her home address by trailing her one evening after work. His messages on Instagram turned from intrusive to sexually explicit, amplifying Celeste's sense of fear and vulnerability. "Have you ever had a beast pounce on you, Celeste?" he wrote. "I want some fun. Celeste, if you had my body for a day, what would you do with me? A single girl like yourself is bound to be switching from one to another. Probably because deep down you know you're kinky. Hence this makes you a slut." Louis Sacco's fixation had taken a disturbing turn, with his messages now vividly depicting explicit and vulgar fantasies involving Celeste. This alarming escalation left Celeste and her loved ones deeply concerned about Louis's intentions. Determined to address the growing threat, Celeste and Aggie returned to the police once more. This time, they encountered a more receptive officer, who listened attentively to Celeste's account. Taking decisive action, the officer collected a comprehensive statement from Celeste and recorded all pertinent details about Louis Sacco. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, he advised Celeste to seek an intervention order without delay to protect herself from further harm. Following legal proceedings, Louis found himself served with a personal safety intervention order, effectively barring him from contacting Celeste. Any breach of this order would result in his immediate arrest. Despite this legal intervention, Aggie remained unconvinced of her daughter's safety and issued a solemn warning to Celeste. "This is just a piece of paper, sweetie, let's remember that." For a month, it appeared that the intervention order had effectively halted Louis's harassment. However, Celeste's respite was short-lived when a 3-page letter from Louis suddenly appeared in her Instagram inbox. In the letter, Louis pleaded with Celeste to cease what he perceived as her interference in his life, despite the clear legal boundaries established by the intervention order. "Please see reason, Celeste. Please, Celeste, the ball is in your court." There's a desperation in my voice because I'm afraid. I'm afraid that my life is fast derailing and steering off track. Everything that I've worked for and improved on suddenly seems to be fading away. But there's still time to undo this, Celeste. Please undo this. These were just some of Louis's pleas and grievances in the letter. Continuing in the same vein, Louis shifted the blame onto Celeste for the predicament he found himself in, absolving himself of any responsibility for his actions. He implored Celeste to end what he termed as nonsense by retracting the intervention order and dropping the stalking and harassment charges against him. He painted a picture of a potential future where both of them could find peace if Celeste made the right choice to acquiesce to his demands. Despite Louis's breach of the intervention order, Celeste promptly alerted the authorities, leading to Louis's arrest. This moment brought a sense of relief to both Aggie and Celeste, who believed that their nightmare ordeal had finally reached its conclusion. However, their relief was short-lived, as Louis's next move involved acquiring a weapon. Meanwhile, with the immediate threat seemingly addressed, Celeste began to embrace a newfound sense of freedom. For the first time in a year, she felt carefree, no longer burdened by the constant fear of looking over her shoulder. Celeste and her boyfriend Christopher shared a delightful date at a charming rooftop bar in the picturesque town of Fitzroy, Melbourne, a cherished memory for Christopher. Little did the couple know that this outing would be one of their last together. Their final photograph captured them radiating happiness on a sunlit day, and Celeste eagerly anticipated sharing the image on social media. Tragically, it was this very photo that would incite Louis Sacco to perpetrate his most atrocious act yet, an act that would abruptly end Celeste Manno's life, forever wrenching her from her grieving family. After being released from police custody, Louis resumed his sinister stalking of Celeste, He meticulously monitored her social media posts, scrutinizing her whereabouts, activities, and companions. He even resorted to surveilling her home, observing the windows to ascertain which room belonged to Celeste based on the activities within. On the fateful night of November 16, 2020, Celeste and Aggie found themselves alone at home. As bedtime approached, they exchanged loving goodnight wishes. Aggie's last memory of her daughter was at Celeste's bedroom door, where she asked if Celeste wanted her bedroom light on or off. Celeste opted to leave it on, reassuring her mother that she would handle it later. "Okay, love you," Aggie expressed before closing the bedroom door. "Love you more," Celeste replied, sealing the tender moment between mother and daughter. In the early hours, just before 4 a.m., the tranquility of the night shattered, as Louis Sacco, armed with a hammer and a large kitchen knife, forcefully smashed through Celeste's bedroom window, launching a brutal attack. The sound of splintering glass and tumultuous chaos jolted Aggie from her sleep, prompting her to sprint to her daughter's room, her heart pounding with terror. As Aggie entered the room, she was met with shards of glass underfoot, and the chilling sight of blood staining the room. Frantically, she rushed to Celeste's side, her screams echoing in the night, pleading for answers as she tried to rouse her daughter. In her desperate attempts to pull Celeste from her bed, Aggie's heart sank as she realized her daughter lay lifeless, unmoving. Outside, security footage captured the chilling sight of Louis Sacco fleeing in his car, leaving behind a scene of devastation. Aggie fought desperately to save her daughter, her cries echoing through the house as she begged Celeste not to leave her. Tragically, despite her valiant efforts, it was too late. Celeste Manno had been brutally taken from her, leaving Aggie to grapple with the unimaginable grief of losing her beloved daughter. Emergency services swiftly descended upon the residence, and the police wasted no time in cordoning off the area, designating it a crime scene. As officers informed Aggie of the grim reality, revealing the discovery of a knife in Celeste's bedroom where the tragic incident occurred, Aggie's distress reached a fever pitch. In a moment of anguish, she cried out, "Oh my God, he killed her," sending shockwaves through the attending officers. Aggie's assertion of knowing her daughter's assailant stunned the officers, who promptly noted down Louis Sacco's name. Subsequent forensic examination, detailed in the autopsy report, revealed the horrifying extent of Celeste Manno's injuries, a frenzied attack that left her with 23 stab wounds, with a fatal strike piercing her heart. Helpless in her slumber, Celeste stood no chance against the brutality of Louis Sacco. Yet tragically, his heinous act was far from over. Louis' subsequent actions underscored the calculated nature of Celeste's murder. He drove straight to the police station, seemingly intent on turning himself in. However, upon arrival, he began imploring officers to shoot him, and shifted the blame onto law enforcement for Celeste's death. It became evident that Louis was attempting to evade conventional imprisonment by pleading mental impairment. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Aggie delved into the intricacies of the legal system, arming herself with knowledge to confront the impending legal battle. However, as she delved deeper into the workings of the justice system, her initial shock turned to seething anger. Over the next 3 arduous years, the case traversed the corridors of the court, each step a painful reminder of Celeste's tragic fate. Finally, after a protracted legal battle, Louis Sacco relented and pleaded guilty to the murder of Celeste. However, this admission came only after his attempts to convince psychiatrists of his supposed mental illness fell short. In the courtroom, Louis Sacco was compelled to confront a haunting symbol of his heinous act, a glowing orb crafted from the ashes of his victim Celeste. As he faced his sentencing, Aggie's impassioned cries pierced the air, demanding that he acknowledge the devastation he had wrought. Despite her pleas, Louis, by then 39 years old, attempted to avert his gaze from the luminous reminder of his crime, placed prominently beside Aggie as she recounted her daughter's life to the court. The outcome of the sentencing delivered yet another blow to Celeste's grieving family. Aggie, in particular, was devastated to learn that her daughter's murderer would spend at least 30 years behind bars. Throughout the proceedings, Louis Sacco remained stoic, displaying no hint of emotion or remorse for his actions. Speaking outside the Victorian Supreme Court, Aggie, flanked by Celeste's father and brother, voiced her profound disappointment with Victoria's authorities. "We were forced to trust a system we lost faith in 3 years ago," she stated. "It failed Celeste then, and it has failed her again now." Aggie highlighted the unfulfilled promises of law reform on stalking that were made following Celeste's death. "I've had 3.5 years of endless meetings," she said. "When these officials met with me, they made promises and commitments, vowing to begin with the Victorian Law Reform Commission's report on stalking laws. The VLRC report was tabled well over a year ago. I waited and waited until I could wait no longer. I eventually realized the door was shut. Many promises were made, but none were honored." Celeste's tragic end created an irreplaceable void in the lives of her family and friends, whose grief underscores the vibrant life that was unjustly taken from them. Their love and cherished memories sustain her spirit amidst their profound sorrow. In the wake of this tragedy, the community united to honor Celeste's memory, advocating for change and offering support to victims of stalking and violence. This collective action highlights the power of unity during times of crisis. Celeste Manno's story stands as a somber reminder of the need for vigilance, systemic reform, and the enduring strength of a community bonded by grief and determination. May her memory inspire us to work towards a safer world for everyone. If you found this video compelling, leave a like, and your thoughts in the comments. Be sure to subscribe and check out our other videos.